Hello and welcome to another episode of LiviusTV. I'm your host, Jason Bradkoff. Today I want to talk about a question that's come up from some families who responded to some of our videos, and they were asking about guessing, specifically guessing on the SAT or ACT. And they had a question about something where someone mentioned to them that they had their guessing strategy. So I really want to talk about this because there's a lot of confusion around this topic, especially with the changes that the SAT underwent back in 2016. So if you're a parent or educator and you remember back to when you took the SAT back in the day, you might remember that in olden times, that means before 2016, there was a penalty on the SAT for getting a wrong answer. And that penalty was actually called the guessing penalty. The SAT folks, the College Board, instituted the guessing penalty in 1940 to cut down on the random guessing, especially on the math section, that was rampant in the 1930s. Scores were getting inflated. So by instituting a guessing penalty, which allotted negative a quarter of a point for each wrong answer, that means even if you guessed correctly on one question, if you guessed wrong on 4 questions, that would eliminate the bonus you got for guessing. The guessing penalty was in place from 1940 until 2016. In 2016, the College Board removed the guessing penalty from the SAT, and that matched the ACT, which has never had a guessing penalty. So you could guess on pretty much any question on the ACT, although the idea is that you would try and answer the questions based on your knowledge and experience. So the College Board removed the guessing penalty as a way of encouraging students to try more questions and skip fewer. Well, now that you don't have to worry about skipping questions as a strategy, you can instead think about a guessing strategy. Now, the idea, of course, is still to answer as many questions correctly using whatever strategies you've learned, whether by yourself at school or through a tutoring program, and apply them to the test and get the maximum number of questions correct. But even so, very few people are going to get a perfect score, all the questions correct on an SAT. The test is not designed that way. It's designed for the majority of people to get about 50% of the questions right. So if you want to maximize your results, especially if you're concerned about timing, you might consider, as you get through the easier and medium questions and really spend the time to answer those to pick up a lot of points, as you get to the hardest questions, be prepared to take a guess. And what I mean by that is, if you come across a question and you look at it, you're like, I'm just not sure what to do here, I don't know where to start, especially if it's a hard question. Rather than waste minutes on that question on a timed test, you might guess on it, move on to questions you can complete, and then if you have time left at the end of the section, go back to any questions on which you guessed and try them then. That's a great way to get something on the bubble sheet, so if you do run out of time, you've got answers in place. But you don't have to spend time on questions that you find incredibly difficult. Like I said, the goal is to answer most of the questions thoughtfully using strategies based on what you know, and guess when necessary. If you're guessing on more than 10% of the questions, I would recommend taking a course, or if you have taken a course, continuing practicing or doubling down with some extra lessons. Now for the ACT, of course, the strategy has always been that way. Answer as many questions as you can, but keep in mind that the big difference between the SAT and the ACT is the timing. So you're more likely to run out of time on the ACT, so be prepared to answer questions at your own pace until you get down to about 2 minutes remaining in the section, and be prepared that you might have to guess on the last 2, 3, 5, 8 questions in a section on the ACT. Don't beat yourself up. Remember, the timing mechanism is how the ACT organization makes the ACT challenging. So, be prepared. Think about how you want to plan your guessing or what order you want to do the questions. So the most important thing is to have a plan going into the test. Whatever strategy works for you, that works for us, but have a plan. So if you have any questions, please leave them below if you're watching this video on Facebook or YouTube, or you can tweet at us at our Twitter account, at LiviusPod, and you can tell us that you like the episode by hearting, starring, sharing, or whatever that tells us that you like the episode. And please, as I said, share this episode. You can share by hitting that share sheet to your followers and listeners and friends on Google, Facebook, whatever. And if you would like the video show, You can always check out our audio podcast, the Livius Podcast, available on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other platforms. And as always, remember to subscribe. That way you get access to videos right away. Thank you so much, and we hope you had a great day. And as always, let's keep learning.